Hey, welcome to Options Brew TV Market Shot with Mark Phillips of Harvested Financial. Welcome, Mark. How are you?
Hey, Lex. Good morning. How are you today?
Good, good. It's our 2021 Feb edition, where you and I are from. Tons of snow on the ground, right? Chicagoland, safe to say.
Oh yeah, over a foot
Next,
of snow we got earlier this
well,
week.
I came back. I was actually on a little bit of a vacation out west in the mountains, and I think we have more snow here than they did out in the mountains.
Ooh,
When I got back, we have tons up north here, and I think we're expecting more today, from what I understand.
yes, sir. Later this afternoon.
Yeah, all right. We'll get the cross country skis out this weekend, so perfect.
And
I
this
know
is a
you love
special week.
that.
This has been our second episode this week, so we're getting a lot of Options Brew TV this week.
That's right. Okay, what do we do? I'll turn it over to you, Mark. What are we talking about today?
So, in anticipation of the big weekend this weekend, I think a lot of people are going to be Sunday. They're going to be sitting in front of the TV watching a certain sporting event. I wanted to pull something up with DraftKings.
Oh,
So not only is that timely with the Super Bowl come Sunday,
yep,
but it's also interesting because it's been making some headlines just this week, actually.
perfect.
So two of the big ones that I'm looking at is one, the fact that ARK just bought a number of shares. I believe that the ARK Next Generation Internet Fund bought 600,000 shares of DraftKings. So
Oh,
they,
wow. Okay.
yeah, initiated their coverage here, and Kathy Wood has just been on en fuego recently, right? Like everything she touches seems to go to gold, and a lot of followers in the names that she's picking there. So that's a pretty big, notable kind of piece of news out there.
Wow. Okay. Good.
So that's one of the things that people have been buzzing about in this name. But then the other item has to do with their opening of their daily fantasy sports to the Canadian market. So these daily fantasy sports are that sort of hybrid short-term fantasy sports play where it's a one-day event. So instead of playing over the entire season and picking your players, you're picking a one-day outcome. So it's this Sunday, set your team, you find out at the end of the day on Sunday. And they've proven to be wildly popular here in the US. And they expect the Canadian market to be pretty significant for the company also.
Awesome. Wow. Good stuff. Okay. You have a trade associated with all this?
I always have a trade.
Yeah, that's what we do, right?
That is what we do. That's what we do all day here. So what I want to look at is I want to compare two different ways to kind of play further momentum in this,
Okay.
and sort of highlight the difference between two call spreads and sort of show what the effect of a short-term call spread does for your risk reward and what a sort of much longer term call spread does. With a lot of bullish activity here, analysts are up in their recommendations. You want to jump on that train? How can we do that with some call spreads?
Perfect. All right. I feel a screen share coming.
Oh, it's coming. Got my trade hawk ready. So pulling up DraftKings. So the first expiration that I'm going to look at is just a relatively short term. So next 15 days, going to that Feb 19 serial expiration.
Mhm.
Stock right now is trading around 62, up just under 3% today. So if I want to play a continued rally here, the one simple vertical I can do would be to buy the 65 call, sell the 75 call. I have a $5 vertical on right now. That's max payout's going to be $5. This trade is going to cost you around $1.04 right now, $1.05.
Yep.
So pay $1, gross $5, profit potentially $4 on this trade.
Okay.
Now that's in the next 15 days. So you're going to have to see a pretty big jump. We're going to have to see the stock jump a little over $8 for you to go in the money here.
Okay.
But you get a nice 4-to-1 return on that.
Sure. Sure. Any magic to the width of the strikes? And all I mean by that for the viewers is why the 65-70? Could you do the 65-68? Or do you have a preference or not really?
It's an interesting question. And it's because when I want to go and compare it to our further out month,
Yep.
Next up, I'm going to pull up August.
Okay.
August doesn't have the granularity of strike listings
Got
that
it.
these near-term options do. And so that's a really interesting sort of dynamic of the markets that as the options come closer and closer to expiration, as we get the weeklies, they're listing more and more different strikes. So like you said, we have the opportunity to 67, 68, all those, really precise things. Further out, they're only listed in $5 increments. So that's why I picked the $5 increment in the front month.
Good. And that's good to know. Okay, good point.
Playing the 65-70 in the front month, pay $1, gross up to $5 on that vertical.
Mm-hmm.
And so how does that compare to, instead of, looking for this to jump over 70 in the next 15 days, what if we're a lot more patient? What if we go all the way out to August? So, August is the closest to 6 months we have on the board, 196 days out. You get actually almost exactly 6 more months of exposure.
Right. Yeah, there. I'll just circle that for folks. There it is, 196 days out. So that's August expiration. Good.
And if we go for that 65.70, so you can see, everything's listed in those sort of $5 increments here.
I feel cheated, by the way. There's nothing in between the green and the red.
It looks like a tighter spread.
Yeah, it's like a tighter spread. What happened? But it isn't, folks. It really is a $5 spread still. So I'm glad you pointed that out, Mark.
Yeah, and so exact same $5 spread, 100 extra 80 days of time for this to go over 70.
Mm-hmm.
The cost of that extra 180 days is like 75 or 80 cents.
Okay.
So the 65.70 in August, it looks like you can get that midpoints around $1.80. These options are a little wider here. We're looking at 25-cent wide options, 35-cent wide options. And that's actually another interesting market structure point, is that because these options are over $3,
Mm-hmm.
they can only be quoted in nickels.
Ah, okay.
So when we were looking at those front month options, those were both less than $3 options. So I think one was like 270 and the other was 1 and change or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So those can be quoted in pennies, so you can have a much tighter spread there. But assuming you can get a little bit better than midpoint, maybe a little bit slippage, 185, 190 for this trade. So we paid 105 for the $5 65.70 vertical in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And we paid 190, call it, for 6 months and 15 days.
Got it.
So interesting to think about sort of when you expect this to continue to rise. You get that 4-to-1 return if you see it really pop in the next 2 weeks. But to get all that extra time on the clock in your favor,
Mm-hmm.
sure, you're going to have to pay an extra 80 cents,
Mm-hmm.
but you do have all that additional time for that value to
Right.
come through.
Do you like one over the other? Is this the one we like better because of you're buying time for 80 cents? So essentially, you're paying 80 cents for whatever that is, 100 some odd days, right?
Yeah, I think that's actually a great way to put it. Is that like you spend 80 cents to get those 6 months of time,
Yep.
and to me, having that duration on your side is, I don't think, the stock has had quite a run up. I think it's doubled in the past 12 months.
Right.
So to see another big pop, another $8 pop in the next 2 weeks, I think that's asking a lot.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But, we do have a lot of bullishness. I think to the extent that like more sports are opening up, that's going to be bullish for the company. As we get more games out there, they're continuing to expand. That's something that's going to realize itself over a more medium term.
Okay. Got it. All right. That looks great. And then we would, the other thing that, I always like to talk about in the front month, if we don't get what we want, we need to do some trading, right? We need to roll. So we got to sell that front call spread and roll it out. So this is a way to kind of avoid that situation, right? By buying the time, pay a little bit more now.
Pay a little bit more now, hold on to that time, to the extent that, you're holding this pillar sort of in the back month. You can even look at some things, we like to talk about ways to monetize things in the front month. Maybe you can find something to sell in the near term to the extent that you want to keep that position managed, reduce your overall cost basis. Having that further out month pillar does give you some opportunities to lean on.
Good. Okay. Awesome. So that's DraftKings for the Super Bowl, right, Mark?
This is our Super Bowl play. Is getting long DraftKings.
Okay. I love it.
Every week. Yep. And I promise my options plays are going to be more interesting than my football calls.
Perfect. All right. Have a good weekend. We'll talk to you next week.